Hawks Nation, what is going on? Welcome back to, I guess, what we will call the second season of the HawksFanTV Podcast. I'm your host, Mac, and I am so excited to get back into this with you guys. Not only another season of this podcast, another year of HawksFanTV, but another season of Hawks basketball that will surely be better than the last, right? That's how we're feeling, at least. So I'm so pumped to be doing this again with you guys and could not be more excited for this season. This summer, some big things happened with HawksFanTV, at least continued big things at that. We were able to attend Media Day again, as you guys saw. Alex and I both attended. So that's what this episode is really going to be about. Just a little recap of Media Day, all the questions that we asked, how we kind of broke down the answers and the responses from the coaches, Coach Snyder, Landry Fields, and all the players. And just, kind of breaking down how we felt and how cool it was of an experience and all that good stuff. So before we get into it, though, as I just mentioned, Alex and I were there. So I do want to give a quick shout out to Alex. Alex is a dear friend of mine, and not just a dear friend of mine, but I guess a business partner at this point with HawksFanTV. This is something that, AJ, myself, Mikey, and Hassan, we have certainly helped grow the brand at this point, but Alex started this on his own and deserves a ton of credit for what we've been able to grow. So just want to give my main man Alex a shout out, and the sky's the limit, man. So let's keep doing it. But yeah, no, we'll go ahead and get into it because got a lot of things to recap and don't want to have too long of an episode for you guys here. First, we'll recap the first thing that happened at Media Day, and that was how it felt walking in and how it felt getting that little lanyard right there with my name on it and everything. And man, it's this moment of it felt very surreal, but also at the same time very earned and deserved. Alex and I and AJ as well, we've all put in a lot of work to be able to attend something like that. So it was a very, very awesome feeling, walking around, seeing all the Quinn Snyder getting interviewed as soon as we walk in, and obviously the players come out pretty soon after that. And Alex actually tweeted this from the main account, and I gotta follow up and attest to it. These guys, they're so much bigger than you realize when you're standing next to them in person. Like I'm not exactly a small guy. I am right under 6'4", 250 pounds, and Trae Young was basically like looked the same size as me, if not bigger, when I was standing right next to him. So, it's just wild to think that, me, myself, when I am out in public with the general public, at least, I am more on the larger side. But then when I'm standing around NBA players, I look like a shrimp. So just always wild to remember how big these guys are, and, just what, physical specimens most of them are. So it was so incredible to just experience that. And obviously, pretty quickly we get into the nitty gritty of it, man. Landry came on at 10 a.m. and we got into it. He actually, had an opening statement, and we'll actually go ahead and listen to that opening statement now.
You're sitting up here than last, which I'm sure we will get into. But where I want to start is just kind of in reflection of the last few years. This is starting my fourth season with the organization, and just some ups, some downs, and whatnot. And now sitting in this seat and having the privilege to be here in this role, really it started with the question of what does it mean to be a Hawk, and what are some elements and things that we can look at in order for us to continuously move forward in a way that's sustainable, in a way where there's an identity that's tied to who we are. And for us, it was really about taking a few moments and asking more and more questions, and ultimately we landed with a shared vision. And that vision has informed a lot of our decision making. And some of those key elements of answering the question of what it means to be a Hawk has everything to do with alignment and communication with key stakeholders. We brought in Quinn Snyder, who's been unbelievable for us in implementing a new system and sharing the same vision, adding some things culturally that we want to do, having a strong emphasis on development, and that's not just on the court, it's really off the court as well, and who these guys are, to bring a unifying effort, to really stress the factors of team, of commitment to one another, and sacrificing where we need to sacrifice in order for us to really harp on the fact that the whole is greater than the sum. Everyone has an individual part to play and everyone needs to do what they need to do, but we need to do that in a unifying effort towards our ultimate vision of being championship caliber. And so far we've done a lot of really good work, leading back to basically last year with the half year that Quinn had, some new staff, some new players, a lot of the same players as well. And really bringing that alignment, not just to the coaches, but to the front office and our performance staff and how that's shaping up and anything developmental that we need to do there. Guys taking care of their bodies, but then also progressing them towards being the best version of themselves. And that's a common theme and a common phrase that we say a lot. So there's a lot of excitement for this season, for everything that's new, and partnering with people that love their craft. At the end of the day is really what we're about. So with that, I'll take any questions.
Yeah, so, his opening statement, I have to admit, I do feel like it was a little more vague and a little more broad than maybe I would have hoped, but I do think that was probably a little intentional on his part. I don't think, the nature of what his position is for the Hawks, being the general manager and just kind of how things are these days, I don't think you want to give out, the secret formula or anything like that. So I wasn't too bothered by the fact that it was a little vague. He still said some things I liked. I will say when he said, the question of what it means to be a Hawk, I think I would have liked for him to go into a little more detail of what exactly that means. Again, I think he was a little vague in his description of that. But again, I do think that was probably rather intentional on his part. So again, I don't see any real issue with it. It's just kind of, how the nature of being an NBA GM has got to go at times. But again, he still said a lot of things that I really did like. I think most notably, when he said that this new regimen is going to have a strong emphasis on development. I don't think that was necessarily a shot at the previous regimen, but, I'll just say it. It was something that Nate and his staff, they weren't necessarily shy about. They were open about the fact that they weren't necessarily there to be developing these young guys. So the fact that Quinn is there to put an emphasis on development, I think us as Hawks fans, we have to, love how refreshing that is going to be for not only us as fans, but them as players as well. He said they also really want to emphasize development on the court and off the court, which I love. Again, I feel like that's got to be an answer that you say, in today's social climate, not social climate, but just atmosphere behind running a sports team. That is something that you have to say. You got to care about these guys off the field, off the court as well. Whereas maybe 30, 40 years ago, they didn't, and they were maybe even blatant about the fact that they didn't. So I get that now, but I believe it because, with Quinn, I get a sense that they didn't just hire him because of his coaching IQ and basketball IQ, but also what he can provide for them as a sense of leadership for the most part, still a team of, pretty relatively young men, so it's something that I really loved that he said that. And again, I wish his, opening statement would have said a little bit more, but at the end of the day, I understand that it is going to be a little vague, and that's just kind of how it goes. But, for the most part, I think he still said some pretty good things, and, just maybe not more excited for the season. So, but now we'll actually get into the questions that we asked them. We got basically one question for almost everybody. So we'll get through these as quick as we can. This first question was for Landry Fields. It was, he was still up at the podium. And this question was really just about any rumors around a potential player, a player that maybe we've talked about on this podcast before. So here's that question that we had for Landry.
Landry, there was a lot of smoke and rumors around a particular player that we were going after in Pascal Siakam. What is your response to those rumors?
Sort of similar to the last question, we're always going to be looking at opportunities to improve this roster. And whenever there's guys that have their names in the mix, sometimes it just is what it is, and you don't really have to address anything because that's the nature of the NBA. But then there's other times where if there's things that come up, we do a good job of communicating with the players and their agents, saying, hey, this has come up right now. Could be something, could be nothing, but more than anything, we don't want you to be blindsided if something were to happen, because in this day and age, I mean, how fast you guys learn of certain things is quicker than what we do at times. So that's the approach that we take in those certain scenarios.
So yeah, again, I admit I think his answer was a little vague, but again, that is just the nature of his position. He probably can't give out too much information on what he's actually trying to do with that, especially when, maybe it's still in the works and he's not, trying to, say it's been done or whatever it is, or we're getting that deal done and, maybe rub the Raptors the wrong way or whatever it may be, right? So I probably would have liked for him to go into a little bit more detail, but at the end of the day, admittedly, I understand the vagueness behind his answer, but hey, it is what it is. But I will say I really did like him mentioning how, they'll reach out to the GM of the other team or maybe even the player to let them know that there could potentially be something happening, even the Hawks player as well, because, they quote unquote don't want to blindside them. And that's something that, again, I think that may be customary for NBA GMs at this point. I'm not exactly sure, but it was still nice to hear that our GM is the type of guy that wouldn't, just up and trade somebody in the middle of the night. Kind of like what happened in Milwaukee. We saw recently with Drew Holiday getting traded and his wife coming out and having that post. I think that was one of those kind of reminders of, these are not only just, real people, but in often scenarios have families too that will be affected by these business decisions that these GMs make. So I got to admit, I think that was pretty awesome for him to say that, he's going to reach out to them well before anything happens. So they, at least know that A, it could happen, and B, that if it does happen, they were like, okay, well, we knew the potential of this. So, I just thought that was really cool of Landry. I also thought it was cool. I kind of gave the media a little bit of shout out how, we're breaking these stories quicker than they can. Well, at least getting the news before they can. So I just thought that was kind of cool too. We'll move on though. The next guy at the podium for the whole day was Big Shock here, the head coach, Quinn Snyder. Quinn was awesome. He just seems like such a people person and was very talkative in the most positive way. You know what I mean? His answers were very thoughtful and very, had a lot of substance behind them. So I thoroughly enjoyed listening to everybody's questions for Quinn and even the one that we had for him, which was really just about, what does he do for, keeping focus during a long road trip? And here is that question. Early in the season where we'll play 10 to 12 games on the road. So I'm curious, what do you do as a coach to help keep focus mentally and physically when a team is on a long road trip like that?
I don't want to sound like I'm avoiding what you're asking. I think every trip is a little different, even the way it's structured. You're going to handle a back-to-back on the road differently than you'll handle, 2 days off. It may be a situation where, your team, you feel fatigue start to set in, and we'll have a blackout day, we call it, where all the lights are off and you're not in the gym. And guys need to just go do what they want to do, go to dinner, hang out, stay in your hotel room. Sometimes you need that. Other times you may need to get in the gym. Other times you might need to watch film. There's rest. There's so many different things you're trying to balance. And the road kind of accentuates everything. It dramatizes different things, but that can also be an opportunity, and I think, going through road trips, you hear a lot sometimes, hey, we went through this road trip and it kind of brought our team together. We went through this road trip and it really split our team apart. So I think being mindful of that as a coach, and just a lot of this is just trying to keep a pulse of your team. And you may not have all the answers. Certainly don't have them ahead of time. I haven't really given you any good ones, right? Maybe a day off. But I think if you think about those things, you figure out, how can we impact? How can we help? How can we facilitate? How can we stay together? How can we get better?
So yeah, I actually think, he was a little bit of the opposite of Landry here, where I don't think he was very big. I think he gave, actually some specific examples and I honestly loved his answer. I wasn't incredibly shocked by his answer. I don't know if shocked is even the right word that I'm thinking of here, but his answer was certainly like, yeah, I had a feeling it was probably something along those lines. But just the idea of him covering, that road trips can make or break a team. They can, bring everybody together because everybody was able to bond, or they can tear apart the team because you have to be in these at times isolated scenarios with your teammates, and you basically can't stand the guys, and it just kind of comes to surface during that, right? So I think that was really cool. I think also, during his answer, I kind of got this not only from the answer he had for us, but for all the answers that he had. I'm kind of getting that he's the NBA's Andy Reid, and what I'm getting by that is that Quinn seems to be the type of guy that really lets his guys be themselves, right? Let them have their personalities and let them have their own interests. And on a road trip, as you could hear in his answers, it comes out in that maybe one guy or a group of guys need to go to the gym on their day off and continue keeping that motor going, or work on part of their game that maybe they think is a little bit squeaky or whatnot. Maybe some guys need to just kind of feel like a normal human being for the day and kind of just maybe go to the mall, do a little bit of shopping, maybe see a movie afterwards, and hit up a restaurant with a teammate or two, or maybe their significant other, and, just kind of relax in that way. Or maybe it's even that, this person is a little more introverted, and I kind of honestly get DeAndre vibes from this answer, but maybe they need to just spend the day alone in the hotel room, and maybe there's a video game that they enjoy playing and they just play that all day, right? So I think that was awesome, where, maybe before it was that I don't even care on your day off, you all got to be here, you got to be doing this, letting everybody be themselves is something that, we've seen with the Chiefs in the NFL, that, it can produce a championship winning team. So, just thought that was cool. There were a lot of cool parts about his answer. The blackout days where all the lights are turned off. I think that's in 2023, you got to be pretty hard at times, but still a cool idea of just sometimes you got to completely disconnect and shut off, especially when you're going through the rigor of an NBA season. So I loved his answer. I honestly thought his answer almost could have been better. But I loved it, and we all need to be really excited for what Quinn Snyder is going to do for this team. It's going to be fun. But speaking of DeAndre, during that answer, that's a perfect segue in our next one. And I'm guessing some of you guys have probably seen this video so far, as it was posted by Alex on the main account. And I'm sure at some point it's probably going to be memed or stitched or something at some point in the season, especially if he doesn't do well. But we'll go ahead and run this clip again just in case you guys haven't seen it.
Dre, a lot of us are excited from these off-season workout videos that you've been posting. It looks like you've been working on your handles and your shooting. What's the biggest thing that you've worked on the most that we can expect going into next season?
I didn't work on anything. That's all I got.
So yeah, that was quite the answer, right? It was 9 words, literally 9 words. It was admittedly a little awkward after it happened, as you guys can definitely pick up on in the video. I have to say, I guess in that sense, it kind of bothered me, because it's not like Alex was asking this pressing question or, setting him up to say something that he shouldn't say. Like, I remember saying to Alex after he got off the podium, I was like, man, you tossed him a softball. So admittedly, it was a little disappointing that his answer was so short. And, I saw people online saying, oh, he's just being sarcastic. And he certainly could have been. I don't know him well enough to say like, oh, yeah, no, dude, he's a jokester. He's always being sarcastic. But, his shortness with it, and, just the pure awkwardness behind it, man. It was just weird. And, he definitely gave us his shortest answer probably, but it's not like any answer he gave to anybody was, very well thought out or very lengthy in a response. it was kind of just a weird experience and all. There was I remember someone asked after I got done there, like, was there anybody that you felt like was just kind of, not what you were expecting at all? And I mean, I wasn't expecting Dre to get up there and, have a stand-up bit or something, but man, it's just kind of weird. And combined with his I'm sure a lot of you guys saw it too, the first day of school photo where it's got his name on it, his best friend on the team and all that, and he just put not applicable. Ooh, I don't know. Maybe Deandre Hunter won't be an Atlanta Hawk by the end of the year. So we'll see what happens on that. But regardless, a decently weird experience when he was up there. But yeah, moving on to an experience that was wonderful. And I knew it would be because this guy's a fan favorite. He's a favorite of mine, and that is none other than Bogey. And I asked him a question about his new contract, and his answer is just one that I think all Hawks fans should just absolutely love. So we'll go ahead and play that right now.
Somebody asked me that in the World Cup as well, and I said this is the first team, since Partizan, since my first team, that I stayed 4 years. So I'm really excited for what's up next. I'm really happy to be here. I didn't know much about Atlanta before I came here. Now, when I go back to Serbia, I start to miss it, really. And I love it here. So hopefully I stay here, till the end.
Gosh, how could you not love that answer? Him saying that, it's the longest team he's ever played on, by the time this contract is done with. So obviously it's got a special place in his heart. And my gosh, him saying that when he goes back to Serbia, which is his home, that he misses Atlanta, his new home. I mean, gosh, man, that just, as a Atlanta, person born and raised, that just makes me have such pride for our city because, you look at another guy, Nikola Jokic, who's from the same country as a Bogdan Bogdanovic, and that's Serbia, obviously. And, Jokic seems like he can't wait the hell to get out of here once, the season is over with, and spends all of his time over there. And Bogey, when he goes over there, he misses Atlanta. So I don't know if that's more of a testament to Jokic and his love of Serbia, or the fact that maybe Atlanta's just a better city than Denver. I don't know. I might go with the latter on that one. But yeah, no, I just thought that was just so cool. Him saying that, he misses Atlanta when he goes back home, and that, hopefully he spends the rest of his career here because he's a guy that I love. Obviously, I know a lot of people love him as well, but sometimes he can go, a little cold at times. And I've seen people on the old Twitters, kind of call him out and almost, request that he be traded and things like that. But my only thing that I'll say to that, I've said it before too, we go as Bogey goes, man. The times that he drops 20 plus points, I dare you to go look it up. I'm not saying every single time, but when Bogey drops 20 plus points, we win. So that's what I mean when I say we go as Bogey goes. If that guy plays well, I swear we have such a high percentage of winning the game. And whether that's, middle of the season or postseason. So I love that answer and hope he's right that he gets to stay for a long time. So moving on though. This next question is for what arguably is the star of the show, and I feel comfortable saying that at this point because, he is a superstar at this point, but that was none other than Trae Young. When he came into the podium, I'll say two things about him real quick before we get into our question that we had for him, and that was just that, one, again, he's just much bigger than I was expecting and everything. Like his shoulders looked big and like his arms were looking bigger, so definitely think he's been in the weight room. But two, his one, I guess three things rather. Two, he was just very confident, but that was something that I knew was going to be there. But his confidence wasn't like made you like him. You know what I mean? But third, I know this is what the national media wanted to do, not necessarily the local media as much, but I was almost admittedly a little intimidated when he first got up there that, he was going to be almost kind of, just for lack of a better term here, pissed off by some of the questions, and maybe even at times a little rude, again, for lack of a better term there. But it was the exact opposite, man. He was incredibly polite and, was very genuine with his responses. And, I don't know, man. That was honestly my biggest takeaway from him. I was like, man, he just seems like such a genuine dude. I can't believe the national media has painted this guy up to seem like he's this, jerk. So that was really awesome. And I even said in our group chat afterwards, I was like, I should have known, you know what I mean? So I do apologize, Trae, if you ever hear that. I should have known that you were not a jerk, but it was nice to be able to actually like in real time, physically experience it myself. So, but yeah, no, the question I had for him is, I think, a question where he lit up, and let's ask him about being a very early father here. So yeah, we'll go and roll that clip for you guys. Hey, Trae.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I can't.
Right.
Yeah.
So you've been a father for a little over a year now. Have you noticed any similarities to being a dad and being a leader of a team? And do you feel like it's changed your approach to the game at all?
For sure. It's put things into a different perspective for me. Obviously, like I've grown up, basketball is my all day, every day, and it's important. When I lose, I'm so hard on myself. When I play bad, I'm hard on myself. And I feel like everybody should be. But as a dad, like certain things matter more, and that ain't gonna change from what my job is and how important that is to me. But my son is my first most important thing to me right now. I got another one on the way, but so those are the most important things to me for sure.
So yeah, I absolutely love his response. Not only, his actual like response, what he says, just his actual like physical response when I ask him. He just lights up and it just starts grinning from ear to ear, and you can just tell being a dad just means so much to him. And I super happy for him and his family, and the fact that they have another one on the way. You can tell Trae is just loving being a dad, and just super happy for him. But the more basketball side of it, I figured that was the case, and he confirmed it, right? That his perspective of the game has changed. Everything is a little more important to him. I'm sure his legacy, right? We use that word a lot in sports. I'm sure his legacy is a lot more important to him right now than maybe it ever has been before. So, I just think we're going to see a lot of big things out of Trae Young over the next year or two. I mean, big things, and even past a year or two, but definitely, this first year or two with him being a dad like this, and just excited for it. I will say I felt bad a little bit because I felt like he had to kind of dance around it at times in his answer, because I think he was maybe worried that not that I was setting him up to say that he doesn't care about basketball, but I think you could tell as he was saying his answer, he says at one point, like, that's not going to change from what my job is and it's the most important thing to me, or whatnot. But, like being a dad is still very important to me. It was one of those, as he's saying, I was like, hey, man, I don't think I'm certainly not, interpreting this as like, oh, man, he cares about his son more than winning. Like, and if anybody does, then, they probably need to not watch sports. I'll just say that. But still loved his answer, loved how much he lit up during it, and just excited to see what Trae Young has got for us this upcoming season. But moving on to our next question, another question where the guy lit up when I asked them this question, and big shock here, it was a question about family, and that was none other than AJ Griffin. Just asked him about what he thought about playing against his dad this upcoming season, and this is what he had to say.
Hey, AJ.
What's up?
So you played against your dad's Bucks team pretty early in the season. So
I was waiting for this question.
just curious, what do you think your emotions are going to be before a game like that, and how bad do you want to beat them?
That's two good questions. I'm excited. I feel like I'm definitely gonna say something to him while I'm checking in. He's like right there, 5 feet away. But we definitely gotta get that win, because I was telling him it's still 2-1. So I'm excited for that, and I feel like that game's gonna be special. Like, already, got 2 wins against him, so we'll see what happens. So yeah.
So yeah, so again, just love how much he lights up whenever I ask him the question. And I couldn't even get my full question out before he was like, "Oh, I knew somebody was going to ask me this." And AJ he's so innocent, and I mean that in the best way possible. He just seems like the most genuine dude ever. Such a nice guy, but loved his answer. I guess I'm kind of prefacing what I'm about to say about his answer with that is because of how nice he is and all that. I was kind of expecting that maybe he'd be like, oh, it's going to be so big, but I kind of just hope that both of us have a really good time and all of that, really soak it in. No, no, that showed he's a true competitor. He was like, hey man, I'm 2-1 against him right now. Like I got to keep that going. So he's like, I'm definitely going to say something to him as I'm checking in, and I'm sure it won't be anything too harsh, but I'm sure depending on the score of the game, it may be a little bit of smack talk. So that was just so cool to see, and so excited for him and his family. Everyone in his family. His dad's now an NBA head coach of a team in the Milwaukee Bucks that very well could be holding up to Larry O'Brien at the end of the year. So. And AJ is obviously going into his second year where he's going to have an even bigger role on a team that could very well be a top 4 seed in the East. So this is, a big year for the Griffin family. So super happy for them. And, just so can't wait for, I believe it's the 3rd game of the season that we play the Bucks. So pretty early on that we'll be able to see this. So it'll be pretty fun. But yeah, no, we'll go ahead and we got a few more questions. So we'll wrap up the episode on this. Next couple questions were for our main guy, Dejounte Murray. The first question just kind of asking about how he's, experienced his time in Atlanta so far and, what has he enjoyed the most about it. And the second question is actually about our international game in Mexico City and what he is most excited for about playing on the world stage like that. And I don't believe he picked up my second part about has he brushed up on his Spanish at all. But I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. I bet he has. So, yeah, no, we'll go and roll those 2 clips for you guys.
Hey, Dejounte. You've been in Atlanta for a year now. How do you feel the city has impacted you this last year, and what have you enjoyed most about being here?
I mean, I love the culture. I love what they stand for. And like I said, continue to just get comfortable and learn the city, learn the history, Atlanta, Georgia. But like I said, I love it here. Even the impact, I love the culture. Like I said, I can relate to a lot of it. So, we feel well, and I continue to, live here longer and, continue to learn about everything about it.
The Hawks have another international game this year playing in Mexico City. I was just curious, what are you excited most about playing on a world stage like that, and have you brushed up on your Spanish at all?
I mean, in San Antonio, I've been there, 3 times, so, I'm familiar with going over to Mexico. It's going to be a great atmosphere, from, off the floor to on the floor. It's going to be a, high excitement game. The fans love basketball, and, as everybody, if you haven't been there, you will see, and if you've been there, you understand and know that. And, I'm always down to, like I said, play basketball at the highest level, and the fans is a big part of it. So to see the NBA continue to expand and have these games, in another country just shows where basketball is going, from a U.S. standpoint.
So with his first answer about living in Atlanta and what he's enjoyed most about it, I think he kept it pretty short and sweet, which is more than okay. They don't owe us these long drawn answers or anything like that. I think I probably would have enjoyed him to going maybe in one more level of detail about what he likes about Atlanta, but he mentioned that he loves the culture and that him and his family have fit right in. So that's something that I'm obviously super happy for them because I feel like the culture of a city can be very different depending on what city you're going to in the NBA. And depending on what your previous culture was or the culture that you grew up in or whatever it may be, it just may not be super similar, and it may be a little bit of a culture shock and a hard adjustment or whatever the case may be. And just glad to hear that for Dejounte Murray and his family, it hasn't really been that way because as he said in the clip, they fit right in. So super happy for Dejounte Murray and hoping that because of his happiness and fitting right in and his growing love of Atlanta, that he gets that extra push and motivation and extra push and drive to get us that championship, right? You got to have guys on your team that actually love the city and want to see us as fans be able to celebrate a championship with them, right? So I definitely loved his answer. His second answer about Mexico City, again, I figured he would probably bring up his time in San Antonio with that, and that they had played there before, and that he's familiar with playing in Mexico. Part of his answer, though, that I will admit, and I guess I need to brush up on my world basketball knowledge a little bit more, but I guess I wasn't super aware that Mexico was very, very big into basketball as a nation. So that's super cool, man. I obviously you want to go put on international games in areas that actually love the sport. So I'm super happy for the fans of Mexico City that are going to be able to see that. They're going to be able to see teams in the Atlanta Hawks and the Orlando Magic that, I think we have a lot of star players on our team, and the Magic have a lot of young star players on our team. So it should be a pretty good game, actually. But yeah, no, his approach to it where, I don't want to use the word company man, but he's like being kind of like a company man. You know what I mean? Like, hey, this is going to help grow the NBA on a world stage. And obviously, the more the NBA grows, the more his personal brand can grow. And just, obviously he loves the sport. He loves the association. That's what he wants to see. So I don't know. It's pretty cool. I excited for those games myself. And, I'm sure Dejounte Murray will put on a show for the good people in Mexico City. But yeah, no, we will actually get everybody out of here on this last question. He was actually one of the last people to come to the podium all day. And that's our guy, Big O. As you saw, he was actually interviewing people with us. I was right in front of him as he was doing that. So my angle on my camera, it looks like I'm like on the ground because he's so tall. But no, Big O was awesome. I loved hearing his answers. And, I just had a question about his mom for him real quick. And we'll go ahead and let you guys hear that answer.
Hey, Onyeka, your mom is a registered nurse, and I was just wondering how that has influenced you and your approach to the game at all.
I do it for my family all the time. My mom, my rock. I try to do everything for her and my little ones back on the West Coast. She just influenced me to be a good person and be true to myself. Everything in life. Trying to be a good human being. Everything else is second.
So yeah, I asked him a question about his mom because a couple things. One, I actually grew up with my mother being a registered nurse as well, so it's kind of something I am decently familiar with and what they have to go through, and what they are able to provide for our communities with the care and service that they give these families and times of very, very hard times. So I definitely wanted to hear his answer. And, if anybody is familiar with Onyeka's family situation, he has lost a couple of very dear family members to him. So, I knew asking about his mom may be a little touchy. So I am incredibly thankful for him sharing some emotion on that and sharing, his feelings on that. And, I just, obviously my heart goes out to him for the losses that he's had. And, I know it means that someone like his mother who is still here with him, it just means that he holds even that relationship even more dear than before. So, I loved his answer. It's one of those things where I got to admit, he was goofing around all day because that's his personality, and it was hilarious. He was cracking everybody up all day. And then when, I asked him about his mom, he got super serious. And I don't know. It's not something that you want to see, but it was nice to see. It was nice to see him, talk about his mom in such a loving and respectful manner. And I just can only imagine what he's gone through and what he emphasizes when it comes to family at this point. So again, Onyeka, thank you so much for sharing that with us. That was, I thoroughly enjoyed hearing that. But yeah, no, as I said, we'll go ahead and get you guys out of here on that one. It was an incredible day, guys. It was something that, I'll never forget, but it certainly won't be the last. So, just be looking out for more stuff from HawksFanTV this upcoming season. As I said, look out for that season preview episode that we're going to be doing in another week or so. But we'll be doing the weekly episodes as well after that, once the season gets into full force. But yeah, guys, thank you for the support as always. Definitely check out all of our articles and other cool content at HawksFanTV.com. Follow us on Twitter/X, whichever one you want to call it, Instagram at HawksFanTV, and just be on the lookout for more because we're gonna keep it coming. Sounds good as always, guys. Go Hawks!